Hey everybody. Last video was decent. Ooh, I just smacked the mic. Sorry. Last video was decently long, and I think this one's probably going to be longer. Sorry about that, but the topic we're going over today, similar right triangles, is a doozy. It's a pain in the butt. It's a big, long one. But we'll get through it. Don't worry. We'll get through it. So I've got a couple of things to show you working up to the actual questions, and then we're just going to leave notes up on the page here and then go through some questions together. So if you have a right triangle like this, right? So notice how it's not our normal orientation, right? It's not the way we'd normally like to see it. But if you flip it like this, and then draw an altitude or a height going from the top straight down, you're going to split this thing into, well, how many triangles, right? If you look here, how many right triangles do we have now that we've drawn this line right down the middle? It looks like a right angle. That looks like a right angle. So if you said 2, congratulations, you're wrong. There's 3. Because you got to remember the big one, the one that you started with, right? This huge one all around the outside. So there are 3 triangles. You have a small triangle, a medium triangle, and then the large triangle, the whole thing. Sorry, I had something in my teeth and I can't get it. Sorry. So, sorry, I just ate breakfast before doing the video, so we're good. So we got 3 triangles here. We got the small triangle, the medium triangle, and the large triangle. All 3 of these are similar. They're all similar, just like our last quiz, which means they're the exact same triangle, exact same angles, but their sides are different lengths. But they're proportional, which means we can set them up in little ratios like we did last week and solve. And I know that seems ridiculous, or everything I just said doesn't make any sense. But once I show it to you, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I sort of get it. All right, the next thing I'm going to show you looks crazy, but give me a chance to explain it. Kaboom. I know there's a lot. There's so much going on here. But I'm going to explain it all, and we should be good. So you have your small triangle, your medium triangle, and your large triangle. I tried to color code them all so you could see. In the small triangle, you have the hypotenuse, which is this side right here, right? You have what's called the short side and the long side. All that means is that this length right here is going to be larger than this one. Because you always have the hypotenuse, that's across from the right angle. And I broke the 3 triangles apart here so you could see what I'm talking about. There's your right angle, hypotenuse is across from it. Short side is the side that is shorter than the other side, right? Because you still have 2 other sides after you find the hypotenuse. And one is smaller than the other one. So coming over to the medium triangle, you've got the long side, the short side, and the hypotenuse. Going to the large triangle, you have the short side, the long side, and the hypotenuse. I broke them apart here, like I said earlier, to kind of let you see them without all the craziness all over it. But in general, this is what we're going to use as a template. We're basically going to use this to solve all the questions. And I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense now, but it's kind of like a board game. If you play board games at all, or if you ever have, you know, someone can sit there and explain to you how to play over and over again, but until you just do it and play a couple rounds, it's not really gonna make a lot of sense. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's play a couple rounds with this thing. So I'm gonna get rid of those guys for now and just come over here and look at this situation. And I'm going to pull up a practice question. That's going to look almost exactly like questions on your quiz. All right. So there's my little, no. So I'm going to show you a tedious way to solve. Like, you know, it's, oh man, okay, there we go. It's not like the you have to do this every single time, and you'll be like, this is so boring and so much work. Yeah, you don't have to do what I'm about to do every single time. It just helps. So you're gonna have 3 triangles, right? You're gonna have the small triangle, the medium triangle, and the large triangle. And in each of these triangles, you're gonna have a short side, let's do this so we don't get all confused. This topic is surprisingly, once you work with it a little bit, it's not that hard. But my goodness, it is easy to confuse because of the well, of the names of everything. So you have the short side, long side, and height, the hypotenuse of each of the triangles. Okay. So we got our small, medium, and large triangle. In each one of those, we have a short, long, and hypotenuse, short, long, hypotenuse, short, long, hypotenuse. And now we just need to go through each triangle and figure out what we have. So I'm going to start with the small because, well, I want to start with the small. And in the small triangle, if I go over to my template here, I have a short side down here, and I have a number there, which means I have a number for the small triangle short side, and it's 7. Oh, no, that is not what I want. There we go. Just extend that. All right. So the small triangles, oh God, I'm gonna mess that up so much. I have the small triangle short side, which is 7, right? 7 feet. Cool. Space everything out a little bit more so it's not all on top of each other. Because, you know, it's gotta look pretty. Okay. So sticking with the small triangle, I also have a number here. And that number is 12. In the small triangle, that happens to be the long side of the small triangle. Come over here to the small triangle, long side, 12 feet. All right, and then the only other thing I would have in the small triangle is the hypotenuse, which, well, I don't have, do I? So let's move on to the medium triangle. So in the medium triangle, I do have a number here, don't I? I have a number, it's 12, short side. So the medium triangle's short side is 12. So now we got a short side, come over here. This is its long side, and that's X. Well, we're gonna mark that because X is important. It's what we're trying to find, so it matters. We wanna find it, so there it is. And then in the medium triangle, we do not have the hypotenuse, right? That's blank, nothing there. So move on to the large triangle. Large triangle short side's right here. Well, I don't have anything there, right? Nothing. Large triangle's long side is right here. And oh man, I don't have anything there either. All right, not looking good for the large triangle. And then the large triangle's hypotenuse is down here. And this is something I really want you to pay attention to. The large triangle's hypotenuse is this entire bottom part. The entire bottom part, which means the long side of this medium triangle and the short side of this small triangle are parts of it. They're 2 pieces of it. So you really got to pay attention when looking at the large triangle's hypotenuse, exactly what information is given. So we do not have the large triangle short or long side, but we do actually have its hypotenuse. Granted, it's ugly, but its hypotenuse is X plus 7. Use an equal sign there. So the large triangle's hypotenuse, we do have. We can take this guy and this guy, add them up, and that's the hypotenuse, X plus 7. So now you can see that obviously there's going to be some mildly complicated algebra in this. I mean, that should have been pretty obvious from what we were looking at, but all right, it's going to get much easier now. Because when you look at these three columns that we've created, the only way you can solve for x, only way you can solve for a variable in this whole scenario is if you have two triangles with the same sides. And you need two sides to match up. So if I'm going to use short, I'd have to find a short. I'm going to use hypotenuse, I'd have to find a hypotenuse. But if I have numbers in two matching sides, I can compare those two triangles together and solve. And looking at our little chart that we've made here, the only two triangles with numbers or x's, right, or variables in matching sides is a small and medium triangle. I have short and short, long and long. So I can compare these two. I can set them up in a ratio and I can solve. And that's going to be the easy part. So all you have to do is make sure, let's say I'm going to start with a small triangle on top. And I'm going to start with the short side. So small triangle, short side. Over, I'm comparing it to the medium triangle's short side. I have to compare the same sides in each triangle. So short over short, long over long. I'm just going to set it up now because it is a ratio. So no text equals. Cool. So I have the small triangle short side over the medium triangle short side. Since I did the small triangle on top here, I have to do the small triangle on top here. If you flip them, you get it wrong. So small triangle over medium, small triangle over medium. This is the short side. We compared the short sides. Now we're going to compare the long sides. Small triangles long side over medium triangles long side. And now we just plug in numbers. Now, before we do, don't get confused by what I did. You could solve this by putting the medium triangle over the small triangle, right? You could solve this by putting the long side first. The order doesn't matter provided that you follow certain rules. If this fraction, if these two numbers are small over medium, then this one has to be small over medium, right? And if this is the short side, then the other short side has to be here. This is the long side, this is the long side. So you can compare them however you want. You'll get the same exact answer. I'll show you that in a second. Let's just put the numbers in. Small triangle short side is 7. Right? Medium triangle short side is 12. Small triangle's long side is 12. Medium triangle's long side is x. Cool. Well, once we have this set up, it's actually pretty easy. Cross multiply. 7 times x, 7x. Equal sign stays right in the middle. 12 times 12 is 144. I'm fairly certain. This is the first math I have done today, so I don't want to mess it up. 12 times 12 is 144. Cool. And then we've got 7x. 7x equals 144. So you're going to divide both sides by 7, or what's attached to the x. And that's going to give you your equal, or what x equals. So 144 divided by 7. Cool. So unfortunately, you're going to get a lot of decimals with this because right triangles rarely like to cooperate. But there you go. Anya, come here. Oh, you got it. Okay. All right. So X equals 20.57 feet. Try and give me 2 decimal places. I always prefer 2 decimal places, pretty much always. So, but I mean, I'm not gonna be the guy who gives you answer choices where it's like answer choices 20.58, 20.56, 20.57. I'm not gonna do that to you. So, yeah, if you do it right, you'll get it right. But just for what I was talking about earlier, how you can do this in different orders so long as you follow those rules of this triangle over this one equals the same thing over here and this side over this side. Let's mix it up. Let's do medium triangles long side over small triangles long side. Will equal, we'll do medium triangles. Medium's on top over here, so medium's got to be over there. Short and small triangle short side. Okay. I'm going to hurry through this because we literally just did this, but I just wanted you to see what I meant. No. There we go. So, medium triangles long side is x over small triangles long side is 12. Medium triangle short side is 12. Small triangle short side is 7. So if you set it all up correctly, you're literally going to get the exact same thing that we got up here, because you're going to cross multiply and do 7 times x, get the equal sign, 12 times 12. 7x equals 144, 7x equals 144. You set the ratio up the correct way, following those little rules, this triangle over this one, this side over this side, then you're set. You got it. So I know it's a little tedious. Some of you are going to look at this and be like, all right, this is easy, I got it. And it's going to click and it's going to be fine. And a lot of you are going to look at this and go, I have no idea what this is doing. I am so confused. What in the world am I looking at? I promise you, following this template will get you where you want to go. But let's try a couple more. I've got 3 more questions. I'm going to do them much quicker, obviously, but I wanted to show you the kinds of questions you're going to get. And then, that'll be the end of the video. So those are practice number 1. Let's do practice number 2. All right. I'm going to run through this mildly fast. So looking over here, they gave you this little red line at the bottom. Well, this is signifying that from here, the tip of the triangle, all the way to over here, measures 120 millimeters. So from here to here is 120. Well, that happens to coincide with the large triangle's hypotenuse, doesn't it? So yeah, that's the large triangle's hypotenuse. But let's go through here and see what we have. Small triangle. Let me do them in different boxes so that it doesn't mess it all up. All right, so we got short, long, hype. For those of you who watch my videos regularly, you realize now that I have a very loud keyboard. All right, cool. So let's go through what we have. Looking at the small triangle, there are no numbers here, no numbers here, and no numbers here. But, could we figure out the small triangle short side? This is 80. We don't know from here to here, but we do know the whole thing is 120, right? So you could figure this out, couldn't you? So this is the short side. You know the small triangle short side is going to be the whole thing, 120 minus 80, minus the piece we know, which will be 40. You know the small triangle short side is 40. Problem is, do you know anything else? We don't know long side, we don't know hypotenuse. The likelihood we're using the small triangle is really small. Right? We're probably not going to use it because we don't have two sides. Like I said, we need two sides. So going over to the medium triangle, we do not know its short side, do we? That's empty. We do, however, know its long side. Its long side's down here. Its long sides happen to be 80. And then we also do know the medium triangle's hypotenuse, don't we? X. All right, so we're looking for long and hypotenuse. Come over to the large triangle. Excuse me. You don't know its short side at all. You do know its hypotenuse. That was labeled, wasn't it? 120. We knew that from the beginning. There we go. So we knew that, and then the large triangle's long side is right here, and that happens to be X. Huh. There are two X's now, aren't there? That's going to be interesting. It's not going to change anything, but it's interesting. So we're comparing medium to large, aren't we? Because we have long and long, hypotenuse, hypotenuse. We're not comparing the small triangle to anything because we only have one side of it. And one side isn't enough to really do anything with, so medium to large. Now, to make it easier on yourselves, when you set up those little ratios before you cross multiply and divide, when I make this little chart, I just like going by the chart. I'm going to go from left to right, top to bottom. So I'm not using the small triangle. That's out. I can ignore that. Medium triangle. Long side over large long. Medium height over large height. That's what I'm going to do because it's just left to right, top to bottom. So medium triangle's long side over large triangle's long side. Going to equal, got to keep the medium triangle on top, and we're using its hypotenuse, and the large triangle's hypotenuse. So let's set this up. Where'd my mouse go? There we go. And then we can start solving. Medium triangles, long side is 80. Large triangles, long side is X. Medium triangles, hypotenuse is X. Large triangles, hypotenuse is 120. Cool. So now we need to cross multiply. A number times itself, X times X, is going to get you X squared, right? Equals, because the equal sign stays the same, and 8 times 12, I should know that. That's actually a multiplication table. Whatever. Oh, 96. So what, 1,960? 12, no, 120 times 80 is, yeah, 9,600. I don't know why I said some other stuff. All right. Where's my select? There we go. If you wonder why I always talk to myself and like slide the mouse over and everything, I've got all the controls for Zoom, like what I'm using to record over here, and it's all these little buttons. And like I can't click on things on this screen unless I select mouse. I can't draw or like write stuff unless I select text or draw and all that. So I always gotta like whip over and grab one of those tools. Whatever. You probably don't care. I'm just saying it. All right. So we've got X squared equals 9,600. That's a little extreme, right? So what are we going to do? If we were doing algebra, you always do the opposite of what's attached to the X to both sides. What is the opposite of X squared? Well, the opposite of X squared is square root. You square root both sides, and you just left with X on this side and the square root of 9,600. So in your calculator, put the number first and then hit the one with the 2. There are ones with 3. I know that's hard to see, but that's 3 square root x. That's not a square root, that is a cube root. Don't do that. Square root, the 2. All right, and we're gonna get a lot of funky numbers, as I said, right triangles do not like to cooperate. So we get 97 point, now we have 979. If I want 2 decimal places, you go to the second place and look at the number afterwards. Just teaching you how to round real quick, right? So this number is 9, and then this number would be 7, except the third number, if it is 5 or greater, you add 1 to this. If it is 4 or less, you keep it the same. Since 9 is greater than 5, there you go. Oh, what were our units? Millimeters? There it is. 97.98 millimeters. Another thing. Oh, sorry, I was stretching. Another thing is when you get your answer, it should make sense, like in terms of measurements. So let me close that. So when you look at this guy, you've got short side, long side, hypotenuse, right? Well, the short side is the smallest side. The long side is going to be the second smallest, and the hypotenuse is going to be the largest. So this answer should make sense in terms of that. So if you look at this and plug it into the x's, does it make sense? Sorry, I had to get my dog. But, so the hypotenuse, 97.98. That is larger than 80, so that makes sense, right? 97.98 is not larger than 120. Fits right there. Looks good. Everything matches. Everything's good. Okay, let's keep going. So let me fly through this one. You got small. You got medium. And you got large. Short, long, hypotenuse. Dim that out a little bit so you can see. So let's look. In our small triangle, we don't have a hypotenuse. We do have a long side though. Long side is x. And then, do we have a short side? We don't have a number here, but we could figure it out. The whole thing is 135. This piece is 55. This must be what's left over. I screwed up on this question. Because if we subtract 55, then this is going to be longer than that, and that doesn't make sense. So you know what we're going to do? We're not doing this question. Boom, gone. Oh, all right. Let's do this one instead. I'll make sure there's no issues like that on the quiz, because that was wrong, and I'm not, that's my bad. All right, so this will be the last question. And then we're done, right? Easy peasy. I know this topic is confusing. This little template, once you know, I mean, I've been using it and applying it this whole time, but I know it's a pain. So bear with it and try it out. Like I said, it's kind of like a board game. You know, if you tried to explain Uno to someone and not show them the cards and show them how to play, there's no way they're going to figure that out. But if they see a round or two, it clicks. It's easy, right? Well, this is no different. I mean, it's hard to just look at it and be like, yeah, I got it. But when you try it out a couple times, you get better at it, it gets easy. So, small triangle, start plugging them in, right? We have a short side, we have an x. And then we don't have a long side, right? Nothing there. But we do have a hypotenuse, it's 15. Cool. Well, the medium triangle, we have the medium triangle's long side. Did I just put 30? Yeah, 30, okay. So the medium triangle long side, and then we don't have its short side. And we don't have its hypotenuse, do we? Nothing. Medium triangle doesn't have anything. Probably not going to use it, right? So over here, large triangle, big ones. Short side is right there, 15. Its long side, we don't have anything there. And then its hypotenuse, well, they didn't measure anything, but do we have something? We've got this and this. And you know the whole thing, the whole hypotenuse of these two added up. So we do have hypotenuse, don't we? It's going to be 30 plus x. All right. It's going to be these two pieces added together. Even if one of them's a variable, be those two pieces added together. All right, well, we're not using the medium triangle. It's only got one piece. So it looks like we're using small to large. Short and short, hype and hype, good to go. So let's get it done. Oh, this one's gonna suck. I just realized it. Whatever, we'll get there. We'll take it as far as we can. All right, so we got the small triangle short side over large triangle short side. And then we're going to do small triangle's hypotenuse over large triangle's hypotenuse. I said we're going to take this as far as we're going to go because we're going to get into the quadratic equation in a second, and I don't want to, I mean, we don't need to know that for this, so, but at least we can set it up, get used to setting it up, all that stuff. All right, small triangle short side is x. Large triangle short side is 15. Small triangle's hypotenuse is 15. And the large triangle's hypotenuse is, we're going to flip it around, x plus 30. Only reason why we're going to flip it around is one, it doesn't change any of the math, and two, we're used to seeing it as x first, right? So, all right. So this is what we're going to do. You're going to get x times x plus 30. How do we do that? Well, you should remember we're going to distribute. X times x is going to get you, well, x squared plus x times 30 will give you 30x, right? Equals 15 times 15, which is 225, I think. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, 225. Look at that. All right, cool. All right, so we got x squared plus 30x equals 225. If this was algebra, right, you would minus 225 from both sides. And that would give you the next bit of the puzzle, right? We would have x squared plus 30x minus 225 equals 0. Right? From there, we would do the quadratic equation, because I don't think you can factor that. And I'm not going to sit here and do that. So, you run into a question like this, you're not going to have to solve it all the way through. if I put something like this on your quiz, which I don't think I did, but if I did, then this right here would be the answer. X squared plus 30x equals 225. That would be the answer. But if you were curious as to how to solve this, you would get all the way to here, x squared plus 30x minus 225 equals 0, and then you do the quadratic equation, right? You've got a, b, c. It would be the b plus or minus the square root of, 2ac minus 4. No, I'll remember it one day. But regardless, this is where we would stop. We don't have to take it this far because this wouldn't show up on your test. But regardless, you can set it up correctly. You'd set it up correctly, you'd get this, and you'd be done there. So like, I'll circle it. This is where, if it's on your test, I would want you to stop, which is right there. You'd be set, you make it that far. And I mean, you know, we do multiple choice, so you would see that in the answer choices and be like, oh, it's one of those questions. But all right, so that's similar right triangles. I really, really, really suggest that you pay attention to this template. I'm gonna post it, of course. These guys are just to help you see them separately, but this is really, you know, like the meat and potatoes of the whole thing, is seeing small, medium, large, small triangle short side, medium triangle short side, being able to compare them on this template. That's really important. So, yeah, if you have questions, which I'm expecting a lot of you will, go ahead and contact me. We can set up a Zoom. I can help you out whenever you need it. But until then, work hard, play hard, have fun, and I will talk to y'all later.